Yeah. That's it.
Are you projecting from yours? Or you read from yours? I'll project. Change of track. We're going to the next one. While Ashwini is setting up. Sarvopanishado gavo Dogdha Gopalanandana Partho Vatsaha Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gita Amritam Maha. All the Upanishads are cows. The milker is Krishna, the cowherd boy. Arjuna is the calf. Wise and pure men drink the milk, the supreme, immortal nectar of the Gita. I did not play.
Yeah, that's good.
So today we'll talk about
You want to move this? I do.
why is the Bhagavad Gita considered the cream of Upanishad? Oh God, this is going to be on the face.
Would you like to sit down, Ashwini?
You can sit down if you like.
I think leave the chair. This chair,
That
right?
Like that.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, you can sit right here and then we'll know that. No, I can leave this here. Ashwini, if you leave this here, I will.
Yeah. Okay. This is good. This is good.
Good?
for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why is Bhagavad Gita considered as cream of Upanishads? Let us see that today. And I'm also going to try and make it as interactive as possible. Let's see. Initially, we'll just go over some of the facts and then we'll see what all you can contribute. So, as you all know, Saraswati civilization, we would not like to call it Indus Valley and stuff like that. We'll call it Saraswati civilization. Thanks to many of the discoveries, latest discoveries that have taken place. So we now know that it's Saraswati Valley, Saraswati civilization. So the early phase of it is as old as 3000 BC, which is 5000 years old. And then the mature phase of Saraswati civilization was 2800 to 1900 BC. And the late phase, that is the late Vedic period, was 1900 to 1400 BC. So this is what is much more in tune with the later discoveries as opposed to what the British did when they were when they were excavating the Indus Valley. That is Sindhu civilization. Now it is Saraswati civilization because they did not know that Saraswati River was not a mythical river as they had thought. So coming from that, we'll see how these entire Indian ethos developed. So let's look at that.
Yeah. This is the next one.
But I'm not seeing the next
No,
one.
no.
Okay, that's interesting.
This is a different screen.
Okay, so you will change the screen?
Yeah, so, yeah. This is the one you want? Or you want this
No,
one?
I want the
She's
next
saying
one.
this one.
No, this is the next one.
Yeah, that is
Okay,
not
this-
being, I cannot see those in the laptop. So as long as
You want the Saraswati? Or this
yeah,
one's cool?
I'm
Okay, yeah, no,
checking.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
why
yeah.
I'm with my laptop.
No,
I
you're
don't know.
good.
The laptop doesn't show what is showing on the screen there. Sorry. Okay, so different schools of Indian philosophy. What are they? You all know this. We have already attended how many? Some 7, 8 weekends of these sessions. So we obviously have gone through that.
Yeah. Oh. Alright.
All right.
Next one, Gaurav.
Fine, yeah,
Forward,
yes,
forward.
The next.
Forward, next, yeah. Go to forward. No, the one before that. I think there's a mismatch.
This you want?
There's a mismatch in
Yeah, we're
your...
fine.
This is the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry. To do next, you will do the next on your phone? Or
Yeah,
how
no,
is-
I'll do. Yeah.
Oh,
You want the next?
really
No,
sorry.
I'm right here. Don't worry about it. Yeah, no problem.
I will operate if I know how to do that.
You just go down. Just
Down.
go
Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So We know this, right? We'll just simply rehearse them. It's the Vedas. What are they? I may be wrong here. I've just put something, but Rig Veda, right? What is the core Rig Veda? Hymns of deities. At least that's what I have studied. I've studied some of the hymns. Then comes the Yajur Veda. By the way, you will find commonality between each of these Vedas. So they are not really serially developed Vedas. It's just a classification done after the fact that much of it was present in various parts of India. So it's partly geographical, partly, not fully, partly different schools that were chanting mantras differently, and different dialects being of Sanskrit, of course, being used. So all of that exists out here. So we just simply want to see how it is and just move on to the next slide. That is, we want to repeat the names. Rig Veda. Next.
Yajurveda, Samveda, Atharvaveda.
So their purposes, and not necessarily strictly watertight compartments when we mention what they are. We don't say Samveda is nothing but music. No. There is many Rig Veda shlokas in Samaveda, chanted differently, however, in a slightly different style. So, but then a fundamental theme of it is musical representation or musical singing of those same Rig Veda mantras. But then you have to know that all of this Hindustani music and Carnatic music that you're talking about has its roots in Samaveda. They say that in Samaveda, anything that doesn't exist in Samaveda as far as musical notes and the representation is concerned doesn't exist on the universe anymore. Meaning it represents the sum total of all the music in Samaveda. And Sri Krishna says, among the Vedas, I am Samaveda. That means it's the Sreshta Veda, it's ultimate. So like that, each one specializes in various different applications. Like Atharvana Veda, there are lots of these mantras for spells and charms, but at the same time, you cannot dismiss it as, oh, is this just black magic? What kind of stuff exists in there? Ayurveda comes out of Atharvana Veda. So you have to know that although there are some primitive aspects still there in those Vedic texts, but something deep, something profound has come out of each of these Vedic texts. So basically you can say...
Just go down. That's fine. You're fine.
What did you press? Right?
Just down.
Down. I pressed down too. Doesn't listen to me. It's his laptop.
My laptop.
Okay, that's why. It's Gaurav's laptop. Okay, so two different schools or darshanas that exist are Astika and Nastika. So Nastika in today's meaning is we don't believe in God. But those days they simply talked about whether I accept Veda as pramana, as the proof of my understanding of God or not. And those who did not or denied that Vedas are the ultimate source of truth are not considered lesser or anything like that. It's just simply Nastika Vedanta. Nastika Darshana, you can say. Darshana means to see. So I can develop a prism to see the ultimate truth without having to take Veda as pramana. So that also existed there. So there is Nastika and Nastika Darshanas. Going to the next one. Hopefully this time it listened. Yeah. So in Vedas, we see that there is a primitive worship, there is spells and charms, there is primitive deities, the god of fire, god of love, god of death, everything represented there. And yet you will also see the most profound philosophy of deeper questions of life and beyond also there. So that is the beauty of the Upanishads. Now coming to Bhagavad Gita. Before we go to Bhagavad Gita, there is also this distinction between Shrutis and Smriti, and I myself have sat through one of the lectures where we were discussing this. So you all know what are Smritis and Shrutis? Apaurushaya, who said? Yeah.
Shrutis are Apaurushaya.
Okay, coming down to little
You wanted to move back, right?
I wanted to move
Yeah,
back.
you're not moving.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
just moved
There's
rather
no-
quickly.
no authorship.
So, yeah, all of that, but there is more to it. Basic difference between Shruti and Smriti.
Smriti is that which is remembered and stated by somebody to somebody else, like by a guru
Okay.
to a shishya.
Uh-huh.
Arjuna is an example of it.
Yeah,
This Smriti is that which is remembered.
right.
So you see, in the
By-
he told me this and I pass it to somebody else. That is the kind of thing. The meaning of
Okay.
Smriti.
Okay.
Shruti is that which is heard not through human sources, but from God, the infinite somehow infused the human memory with this.
Okay.
That is why it is called Shruti.
You understood, got it. But there is something even more basic than that. More basic.
That's what he was saying, Apaurushaya. It didn't come from
Even
any
more,
human being.
even let's say it comes down to the basic world. Any other definitions?
It always existed.
Shruti
Yeah,
always
It exists
existed.
universally, all the time.
Timeless.
Timeless and universal. That's the word I was looking for. That is, Shruti is universal. Like, for example, Brahman or something as Sat, truth. It exists. Today, the statement made today is applicable to somebody somewhere in the East Coast, somewhere in India, somewhere else, geographically, space-wise, and time-wise. Something that was said 10,000 years ago, that statement, that assertment is true even today. So that is the definition of Shruti. Yes, it is Apaurushaya, all of those are true, but basically if you want to say in one line, it is universal truth, universal facts. That is Shruti. Now Smriti is something that I designed today and may have to be redesigned tomorrow. Or today I say that, tomorrow it has to be reset. For example, that is dharma text. That is moksha sadhana, for example, moksha texts are Shrutis. Because when we talk about moksha, when we talk about life in general, it's applicable to everybody. Even whatever is applicable to humans here is applicable to, even in some cases, even applicable to animals also. To that extent, it is universal. But when it comes to Smriti, those are laws. And today's law may not be the same as tomorrow's law, like social law. Nyaya, for example. That's a text that is simply Smriti. So, Bhagavad Gita now.
So is it like Sanatana Dharma and Dharma?
Dharma Shastra.
No, the Sanatana Dharma is the
Correct.
Shruti because it won't change with time.
You're right.
Dharma is the one like a Smriti.
Ever
It changes
changing.
based on the context.
Based on the
requirement.
context. Correct. That is the difference I wanted to get to. And so Bhagavad Gita, where does it fall?
Sanatana Dharma.
Sanatana Dharma. Okay. What is, everybody agrees with that? It is a pure Shruti text?
It's
I think it's both. Shruti and Smriti.
It's both.
Shruti, yeah.
Why is it both? Can somebody give an example?
It's
why
both
did
because
it
they
against?
we don't fight wars the same way they did in those days. It may be a different type of war in our
Okay, alright,
present day
okay.
situation.
Yeah. Possible? That's one difference.
I think it is to keep the Sanatana Dharma by changing the Dharma rules. The idea of Bhagavad Gita is to keep the main idea is to keep the Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, but following the present context-based changes. The main idea is to keep the Smriti.
Correct. So you're right. So it is said in a context. For example, Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. When we say that, many people interpret it differently. They say, oh wait, I know Krishna said this because my dharma if you bring the 4 castes, right? The 4 varnas, not castes. The Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Oh, Krishna is trying to say to a Shudra, oh, you should be doing your Shudra job, not the Brahmana job. You better, even die doing your Shudra job, but not as Brahmana job. He, that can be, you can take anything out of context and put it in some other context, and you can make a completely different meaning or a horrible meaning, and then say, well, this is the text which is just supporting Varna system, and it just is a very bad text and nobody should read this. You go to the websites and read about Bhagavad Gita. Krishna goads Arjuna to fight war. He's causing him to do himsa and all that stuff, right? That also you can see. If you don't look into the context of Bhagavad Gita in which Krishna is talking, it can become completely a different text, and then you can talk all evils about Bhagavad Gita. From that perspective alone, it is a smriti. But otherwise, it's mostly a shruti. Why? Because the war that he's talking about, although you said in those days they did not fight the wars in the same way as we do today, believe me, we fight the wars even in, not only in the same way, in much worse way, right? In fact, the rules of the war are the same. Where they broke all the laws, here also we break all the rules of the war. So dharma yuddha was what they said, but it didn't end up being dharma yuddha. There's no rules in war for that matter. It started with Mahabharata war for that matter. So from that context, and even from the war that we fight in the mind, the personal conflicts that we go through, it's just shruti. For the most part, it is shruti. But then you have to know that if we don't understand the context in which this is being told, one can take this in a very negative way. For example, Upanishads, when we talk about the Mahavakyas, Athato Brahma Jijnasa, there don't bring any context. It still is fine, because there is nothing that is going to be context specific in the sentences also. Whereas Bhagavad Gita is a text that is used as an application to life, and so life has context. Whereas something that is said for beyond life, the metaphysics, doesn't have context, because all the assumptions are over at that point. You are in the metaphysics. But here, when Bhagavad Gita is being told, there is a context in which we are all living for that matter. So there is a context, but that is still universal, because that context will never change as far as the worldly life is concerned. So it's yea and nay. That's what, from that point of view. Next, why is it the cream of Upanishads? It inculcates every idea of Upanishad. Some shlokas you will see that they are stunningly similar to the shlokas of Upanishad. It supports Dvaita, the dualistic philosophy, the Advaita, the Visishtadvaita. It synthesizes all the possible sampradayas of Hinduism, and it talks about Saguna Sakshatkara. What is Saguna Sakshatkara? Somebody, please.
That is to
With form.
imagine a form and make that part of it. That is Saguna.
Worshipping as a form, as an attribute-filled aspect of the universe. And Nirguna?
Formulas.
Basically the totality of the universe. Then it also supports Sankhya and Yoga. In fact, some of the Nyaya Vaisheshika aspects are also supported. What are Nyaya Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga? We are not going to have time to discuss all of that. Basically, the Shad Darshanas. All the Shad Darshanas, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa. These are the 6 darshanas which we are not going to obviously explore here, but it supports all of that. What is the difference between Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa? Anybody?
Vedas and Upanishads.
Vedas and Upanishads fall under
Purva.
Purva or Uttara?
Upanishads fall under Uttara.
Uttara Mimamsa, that is the development over the Purva Mimamsa. What is Purva Mimamsa?
Vedas.
No. It's a text of rituals.
Rituals. Yeah.
Everything is in Vedas. We are not denying that. But then the ritualistic aspect of the Vedas is Purva Mimamsa. The philosophical aspect of Vedas is Uttara Mimamsa. That is.
It's connecting you.
You think it's gone again?
Wherever there is technology, and we are coming up with artificial intelligence on top of it. How scary can that be?
We'll move slides. So
Yeah, now we'll just see some of the Upanishads and their similarity with Vedas, Bhagavad Gita. Now, you all know about this Ishavasya Upanishad, right? At least some of you have heard of Ishavasya Upanishad. In one of those, the first sentence of Ishavasya Upanishad is Ishavasyamidam Sarvam. This entire universe is Isha is governed by the highest principle, the Isha, that is Ishvara principle. So that is the sentence there. And what is Ishvara, everything will not talk about that, but just simply bringing the comparison, since this is what he said, right? We are standing around Gita and dancing, so this is that kind of a dance. So we are not going to go deep into anything. Now, Maya Tatamidam Sarvam, if you go to the chapter number 9, you will see that he is talking about the Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna says this entire universe is, tatam means to pervade, is pervaded by me, maya tatamidam sarvam, and so forth. The entire shloka goes from there. And then andattama pravishanti, this Ishavasya Upanishad is about karma yoga. It talks about vidya and avidya, two things. What is vidya and what is avidya? Anybody knows that? Is avidya ignorance according to Ishavasya Upanishad? No, it also is a form of vidya. So anybody knows what is vidya and avidya? From Ishavasya Upanishad?
Only lack of knowledge is avidya.
No, not for Ishavasya Upanishad. That's why I said anybody knows Ishavasya Upanishad. In Ishavasya Upanishad, vidya is about the knowledge of the higher self, the metaphysics. Whereas avidya is this regular vidya, that is, the carpentry, for example, pottery and engineering and so forth. So that is avidya. Now, what he says is, andahtama pravishanti ye avidyam upasante. Those who are stuck in avidya, that is the regular routine day-to-day stuff. That's what is avidya, right? Worldly stuff, pursuing worldly stuff can be knowledge, but they go into darkness. And tato bhuya iva, even more darker hell or darkness, the bigger darkness, those will go who are pursuing vidya.
Who are pursuing what?
Vidya, who are pursuing this higher knowledge. What is the meaning of that? It's a very taunting shloka, actually. What does it say? It says, if you are pursuing vidya, that is, you are talking about Vedanta and you're constantly into this debate and stuff, but you haven't done your avidya stuff. That is, you haven't done your worldly life. You haven't experienced enough. You haven't done your karma yoga. You haven't, grown. You left your family without having enough knowledge to do so. If you just simply, for the sake of trying to find some vidya, you went after vidya, you will go to deeper hell. They say. And what else do they say? Kurvanneveha karmani jijivishet shatam samaha. You live 100 years doing your duty first. Vidya is not the most important thing as we would otherwise think, right? We think that is higher and this is lower. No, that's not what Ishavasya Upanishad says. Now, let's come to what Bhagavad Gita says. Yam imam pushpitam vacham. And then he goes on and on, says Veda vadarataha, Swargaparaha, all these people who are busy in the intellectual debate about Vedas and who are pursuing Vedas and who are trying to go into heaven and all, they go into deep hell. Who says? Krishna says. So he says, first do your duty. Play in this world first. Then we'll talk about all those moksha. So both are pretty much saying that. And then, Kurvanneveha karmani jijivishet shatam samaha. Live 100 years working, says Ishavasya Upanishad. And what does Sri Krishna says? Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. But at the same time, mate sangostva karmani. Never become akarmani, meaning never take to inaction. See, look at the how they are similar. Yeah.
So what about the sannyasis?
What about sannyasis? That's a different. So Krishna addresses that also. Those chapters are different. When he's talking about karma yoga,
but vidya and avidya, sannyasi means he will.
Let's come to that. So that's why I said you have to really see that Krishna has synthesized everything. He has brought sannyasa aspect to it. He has brought moksha aspect to it. He has brought dharma aspect. He has brought work aspect. everything, bhakti aspect, Raj Yoga aspect, look at that. How to meditate, it talks about that too, by the way. So only when you are ready for sannyasa, you are ready for sannyasa. You are not otherwise ready. If you are not ready for sannyasa, mityacharas sauchyate, he says. You are, what is that? If you just sit down holding your hands and legs and tying them in a mudra like that, but then deep inside you are sitting and thinking about all the bad things and you want to practice sannyasa, mityacharas sauchyate. So, you have to understand. He is talking everything. It just comes to all aspects, touches about everything. Let's come to Kathopanishad now. Atmanam Rathinam Vitti. It's a beautiful shloka in Kathopanishad where he says Atma is the Rathi and Buddhi is the Sarathi, and Manah Pragrihyamevacha, the mind is use the mind as the reins and hold it, and that's how you run the body, you run this chariot, become the charioteer. There is a charioteer inside. All of that is said in Kathopanishad. Now, what is Bhagavad Gita doing? It says, Indriyani paranyahuhu, Indriyebhya param manaha, manasastu para buddhihi, yo buddhes tena eva saha. So, he is also trying to build that same hierarchy, and you will see the similarity between Kathopanishad. Kathopanishad especially has tons of shlokas which are very similar to Bhagavad Gita. Najayate mriyate va kadachit. We never die, we are never born. Nayam bhutva na bhavi. We never were non-existent at any point. So that same shloka is exactly repeated in Bhagavad Gita. It's not even different.
That Krishna is, in fact, there are quite a few scholars who think Krishna was the author of the Kathopanishad as well.
Probably. We don't know. It's so similar. But of course, there are differences too, by the way. There are also differences. So we cannot just say if it was the same author. But all we are saying is, he has drawn from all these. He has milked the cow. Sarvopanishado gao. Right? He pretty much milked the cow of Vedas and he has put it. And that's all we are trying to demonstrate. We're not trying to teach all these shlokas in details and all, but we're simply bringing the, samya of these two. And Omit Ekaksharam Brahma, the best part is he has taken from Kathopanishad the art of dying. The best part. Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan mam anusmaran yaf prayati tyajan deham sayati paramam gatim. That means those who are going to chant Om and who remember me and who die in Uttarayana. Do you know what is Uttarayana? What is it?
The time the sun goes towards the
Not really. He says thinking positive thoughts. That is Uttarayana. Think of positive thoughts. Make your days brighter. Don't think of darkness. That is the Dakshinayana. So when you die like that in positivity, then you attain what you want to attain. You want to be born in a yoni, punya yoni. Then yes, what is punya yoni after all? I want to be able to contribute to the universe. Then the mother and father that you choose and whatnot, you have choice over your life or the absence of it. If you say, hey, I'm no longer interested in life, whatever be it is your choice, body is no longer a limiting factor at that point. That happens when you know how to leave the body. When you take this as vasamsi jirnani yathavihaya, when I just leave it as clothes and then go, you're no longer stuck with the body. That is the Uttarayana way of dying, he says. That is there in Kathopanishad, that is also there in Bhagavad Gita, is all I'm trying to say here. Again, please understand, we are not going into deep depth here, and otherwise he's going to come after me now. Next.
Why is the Bharat going inside?
I know. So, Urdhva Moolam Adas Shakham, that's the best part, the tree, the inverted tree, the concept of inverted tree where the roots are up there and the shoots are down. That shloka is pretty much similar in both, I think it's the same shloka in both things, but except in Kathopanishad it's brief, but in Bhagavad Gita is expounded a little more, things like that. And then comes the best part, that is Mahavakyas, Tattvamasi. Who doesn't know this? That you are. What is that? Of course, that's where we go inside, then Bharat stays outside. So now, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, if you study this shloka, you will see that the whole Advaita concept is pretty much put there. And Tattvamasi, talks about Advaita. Of course, there are Dvaitis. If you are Dvaiti and you come after me, how can Tattvamasi be Advaita? Again, I'm not here to debate that. But I'm just bringing some of the Advaitic thoughts. And we are going to Dvaita also, so not to worry. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Everything is Brahman. That's what Brahmarpanam is also talking about. Aham Brahmasmi. That's what Brahmarpanam is talking about. And then Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma. That is what this also, the second shloka. Avyaktat Vyaktaya Sarvaha. So when everybody, Avyaktat, from the unmanifest comes the manifest. He's talking about that. So basically, aren't they similar? Then comes the Dvaita sentence here. Brahma Satya Jagan. Oh no, that's also a Dvaita sentence. Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. What is it trying to say? That is, Mithya is not really non-existent. It's not untruth. Mithya means, anybody knows?
Illusion.
Illusion.
The manifested Jagat is Mithya.
Yeah, Mithya is not exactly illusion. It is the unreal. It's not untruth. It's unreal. Meaning, like your dream. Your dream was real. It was not illusion. You dreamt. You actually dreamt. But when you woke up, it's no longer real. So, that kind of unreal stuff. Jagan Mithya. That is the Mithya it is. Today it is true. Tomorrow it's not true. That is the Mithya. So, Tribhir Gunamayir Bhavaihi Sarvam Ebhi Sarvamidam Jagat. He says this Jagat comes from Tribhihi, that means three Gunamaya, that is Sattva Rajas Tamas. So basically this world is coming out of these three, and then what does he say to Arjuna? Nistrai Gunyo Bhavarjuna. That means you become Nistrai Gunya. As soon as you become Nistrai Gunya, that means you are no longer associated with these Trigunas, then you are in the Brahma Loka from this Jagat, that is Mithya Jagat to Brahma Loka. So you are basically transcending. How you want to take this, you want to take this as a Visishtadvaita or Advaita or however you want to take it is up to you. But he doesn't bring any of these specifically, I support this, I don't support this. No, he says all of it that we are saying is actually true. And I will finish this with one reading of what Swami Vivekananda has said. Very beautiful. He says, other than the Gita, no better commentary on the Vedas has been written or can be written. The essence of Shrutis or the Upanishads is hard to be understood, seeing that there are so many commentators, each one trying to interpret in his or her own way. Then the Lord himself comes, he who is the inspirer of the Shrutis, to show us the meaning of them as the preacher of the Gita. And today, India wants, of course he's talking to Indians, India wants nothing better. The world wants nothing better than the method of interpretation. That's all there is. Basically what he's saying here is it's a wonder that subsequent interpreters of the scriptures, even commenting upon Gita, many times could not catch the meaning, many times could not catch the drift. For what you find in the Gita and what in the modern commentators, one non-dualistic commentator takes up an Upanishad. There are so many dualistic passages, and he twists and tortures them into some meaning and wants them all to a meaning of his own. If a dualistic commentator comes, there are so many non-dualistic texts which he begins to torture, and meaning shlokas, which he tortures them and then turns them around. They're all right, says the Lord. For slowly and gradually the human soul rises up and up, step after step, from the gross to the fine, from the fine to the finer, until it reaches the absolute, the goal. That is what is in the Gita. Even the Karma Kanda, that is rituals, is taken up. It is shown that although it cannot give salvation directly, but only indirectly, yet that is also valid. Images are valid indirectly. Ceremonies, forms, everything is valid only with one condition: purity of heart. For worship is valid and leads to the goal if heart is pure and the heart is sincere. And all these various modes of worship are necessary, else why should they be there? Religions and sects are not the work of hypocrites. And the wicked people who invented all these to get little money, as some of our modern men want to think. That's not what it is, he says. Everything exists for a reason. However reasonable that explanation may seem, it's not true. That is, it's not a religion, the thing of invented by hypocrites. They are the outcome of the necessity of the human soul. They are all here to satisfy the hankering and the thirst of different classes of human minds, and you need not preach against them. The day when that necessity will cease, they will vanish along with the cessation of that necessity, and so long as that necessity remains, they must be there in spite of your preaching, in spite of your criticism. You may bring the sword or the gun into play, you may deluge the world with human blood, but so long as there is necessity for idols, they must remain. These forms and all the various steps in religion will remain and be understood from Lord Krishna why they should be. That's the Swami Vivekananda's thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make up for the time if I took more.
No, no, it's all good. It's exactly just right.